Um, this on psychedelics, I heard about a book 20 years ago. I never even read the book, but I just heard that the premise of the book was this guy who trained himself to meditate, to experience psychedelic states. And just hearing that book, I was like, that's what I want. That's what I want to do. And it was 5 or 6 years later through circling that I started getting all these kind of psychedelic states and transpersonal states. And it's been a real feature of my life for the last 10 years. Um, and I kind of, I think it's fair to say circling, sometimes people would ask to do psychedelics in our circling space. And I'd be like, hang on a minute, have you circled enough? Because we can go there without the psychedelics. And people kind of like really enjoyed that response. And then we would go in and, maybe something like that would happen, maybe it wouldn't. But so I'm a real stand for the potential of like the availability of that kind of magic without psychedelics. But I actually felt, because of that stand, I needed to do more psychedelics myself these last few years to like experiment. And I've had really, really great experiences. And mainly, I would say it's backed up that hypothesis that like, these are kind of territories I know from circling, or they're revealing similar beautiful things about love and interconnectivity. And I have to say, I've also been taken beyond what I've experienced in cycling as well. So, which has been really fun.
Yeah, I'm just always curious how people run across certain things, and like for me, my journey kind of started with kind of an existential identity crisis, and that kind of propelled me into personal growth and like reading and all these kind of positive habits, and eventually a dedicated meditation practice. And then came across psychedelics and did that for some years and had some profound journeys. And eventually I was like, okay, this is cool. I got some insights from this. Let me deepen my meditation practice. Let me integrate this into my life. And then it was through that, like, that's how I came across circling. It was going to Monastic Academy. Actually, I wanted to go there to meditate strictly. I was like, I just want to go there to meditate for 10 days. And they just happened to have the circling retreat at that time. And I ended up coming across that. So it's just interesting how, somebody comes across circling first, somebody comes across psychedelics first, but somehow they all integrate and intermingle.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd say another really important one for me has been embodiment, the idea of embodiment and the practice of embodiment, and as a pointer to a certain kind of experience, with the kind of basic stages of like body just being an object, kind of it's like you might want to make it look good, but there isn't like this amazing connection to it. Like obviously you want to be healthy, but it's something that's just an object in your awareness. And then it's like through mindful practices, we can start to become aware of like, oh, there's all these subtle things happening in my body. And like, so there's a mindfulness that's developed. But then embodiment is one step further, where it's like we become alive as the body. So it's not like I have a body and I'm like looking at it and I can tell you about it, which is perfectly fine to do. But embodiment is like, I am this thing. Like I am the aliveness of my whole body and mind. And I think that actually can cut through. Like, I wonder how it lands for you. I wonder if because it only started to come online for me in the last year or two, where I could really feel like as the body, and that you can do all these embodied practices to support different capacities and growth. And that embodiment is the truth of who you are. Like you can't help but embody the way you are. So it's like this way also of just going deeper into life and yourself.
Yeah, there's a lot of things there that come up for me, and I actually remember we had a session during the SAS when you were speaking about this, about embodiment, and you are the body. And I guess there's a lot of things there that resonate to me. What you said, like I was really into bodybuilding and like lifting weights and looking a certain way. And then over years, that kind of like, actually, I want to feel good. I want to have good energy. I want to be more functional, more athletic, more yoga, and just being in tune, like listening to my body and like, oh, actually, I need to take off today and not go to the gym, or like something's coming up, like being more in tune and feeling that. And then, you know, also like when I came to Monastic Academy and learned circling, learned the practice, and I realized how much that was actually related to emotions. And that's something that I really struggled with my whole life. Just now looking back, I see it was either times where I didn't know what I was feeling or what was happening, or I would just get super reactive and it'd be like a flood of emotion. So it was like these kind of two extremes. Either I'm shut off and I don't know what's going on with me, or it's like I'm in it, like in overwhelm. And then coming to Monastic Academy was like feeling into my body and learning and watching other people and learning from other people how they tune into themselves and to others. I started to get all this, the nuance and in between, and really feeling into my body and watching how some people would not even want to speak. They would be so like trying to feel every little thing. Like I can't even speak because if I speak, I'm going to leave the body. You know, and then the other piece that comes up for me is, and this, when you mentioned this in our session, when you said I am the body, there is something that's true about that. But then there's also something to me that's like, well, you know, there's the teachings of you're not the body, you're not the mind or the body, because there's something that's aware of the body, there's something that's aware of the content. So I wonder how you integrate that understanding, if you have that kind of understanding of actually, like on a relative level, I am the body or I am the mind, or there are these things in my experience, but what am I actually even maybe beyond that, or what transcends that? So I'm just curious how you integrate that piece, just how that lands with you.
Yeah, it lands well. Like, and I'm careful to introduce it as kind of like a pointer and a practice that I am the body. And I guess I would fit it into like ascending and descending models of spirituality as well. Of like, that's a pointer to a descending path, potentially. But I would also challenge where the ascending path can be a bypass. It's like, I believe in ascension, and so I love embodiment because there's a down to earth quality, and there's still a spiritual quality of like the human, like the divine and the human as one. So I love the range of ascent and descent, and these are all just pointers. But I do think embodiment is very cuts to the chase of like what's really real on a human level, and doesn't lack a spirituality, put it that way.
Yeah, what you're saying right now resonates and with my actual experience too, because that the time period that it was like 3 years or something where I was doing the most psychedelics and really going on these journeys, I think there was a lot of leaving the body and almost like in some way getting disconnected from it. And there was probably strands, and I'm sure there's still strands of that, of like the spiritual bypassing. And over like the last year and a half, where I've really gotten into circling, and I actually have stopped using psychedelics. I haven't used psychedelics in over a year and a half because I just don't feel like I need them at this point. And it has been very much this kind of, before it was like this blasting out, transcending, and now it's like coming back, integrating, coming back into the body. I had this psychedelic psychotherapist on my podcast, Saj Razvi, and we were speaking about this and how he works with cannabis and ketamine and other psychedelics too, but his approach is very much keeping people embodied, using psychedelics and keeping people embodied to process trauma. And it's I just something about that really resonated with me. And it seems like a lot of times people will use psychedelics and it will be this very like out of body experience, very like transcendental, very out there. And then it's very difficult to integrate it back in. So like being embodied and being in a relational model, there's just something there that's very grounding, very healing, very real on a human and relative level.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels like that's where I like to play as much as I like the transcendental stuff when it comes along.
Yeah. You can't be in a 5-MeO state all the time. Like, you can't be just completely dissolved and